Travis,
Hey,
looks like your wife kicked you out of the house. What's going on?
I am at Pretoria Fields Radio, the studio that I do my radio show at, and I'm just outside. We were going to record inside, but the karaoke was too loud.
You're going to do
So
a walkabout while we do the show, huh?
I'm going to do a walkabout show, and
Wow.
anyway, we're good because we're here to talk a little bit about Trump's speech.
Yes, that I have an anathema about politics, but let's do it. It was a good speech. This is Travis and Ross, and this is Notes On, and we're trying to do Christ on Purpose. We're trying to figure out how our faith relates to our politics in a way that's actually honoring to God and biblical. Let's go there, Travis. What did you think of the speech? It was last night for us. Whenever it comes on,
This will air a few days after the speech, but
yeah,
I got to tell you, we did a recording earlier, just to let people know. So that the recording that they may see next week is going to be way out of date because we're doing this one now before the one we just recorded. Because we wanted to talk about the speech and talk about kind of what the platform is looking like and what politics are looking like. I just read a headline where the Biden family apparently is now having a conversation with themselves about what an exit would look like.
yeah.
Now that Biden has COVID and Joy Reid, the really not so intelligent commentator from PMSNBC, is that where she is? No, she's on CNN, the Clinton News Network. She, I don't know. Can't remember where she is. That's how much it doesn't matter to me. I just can't remember where these people are. She said that the COVID that Joe Biden is facing, he is showing just as much bravery as Trump did under fire.
Wow.
That dog ain't gonna hunt. We know that what Joe Biden is exemplifying is simply sickness and not bravery. God bless him. Pray for his health.
Yeah.
I've already done that. I will do that again, but let's call things what they are. It ain't courageous to get COVID. I had COVID. I had cancer. And that just is what it is. I mean, but I've never been under fire. So I don't know how I would respond. Trump did respond with bravery. I got to give him that. No matter how much you may like or dislike him, that was brave what he did. Unless you're a conspiracy theorist who thinks that he planned it, which I'm sorry. Yeah. I just think that's cray-cray. So he did the things that you need to do to rally his base. The Republican National Convention overall was a really wonderful cheerleading, pump up your spirits, let's get ready to go. I've never seen a party this united since the country was united during 9/11. And I've never seen a party so divided as the current Democratic Party is. I don't know of any time in history where a political party has been this disunited. So things are just not looking good for the Dems, and they're looking very good for the Republicans. And I thought personally that Trump knocked his speech out of the park.
To be fair, I think, Travis, the division in the Democratic Party is because of Joe Biden's failing ability to reason. And the unity in the Republican Party is because Donald Trump was shot and almost killed. And so in both of those cases, those were really circumstances outside of anyone's planning or control. So, I want to be fair about that, although I think your statements are correct. And, it's interesting. Can we say that God ordained this or God directed this, or is this just random stuff that happens? And how do you think about that?
Well, I'll say two things. I do think that on the one hand, where Joe Biden is health-wise and all that stuff is out of his control. But I will say that I don't blame Joe Biden so much as I blame his family and I blame the Democratic Party. It was clear I mean, I was talking about his health, and again, I'm not the most insightful person in the world. I'm not the first person to ever say this, but when he was running for president in 2020, I was saying this kind of thing. I was like, this guy can't run a country.
Yeah.
There's just no way he can run the country. He could barely debate Trump in their very first debate, where I think Trump lost because he was a jerk to Biden. I don't think that he lost because Biden, held his own in the debate. And that's the difference. Joe Biden only won. Trump was a jerk. So, and then he got crushed in the second debate with Trump, if you remember. So Biden he hid in the basement for 6 months during COVID in their first round with each other. And, I mean, I have questions about the first election. I'm not a conspiracy theorist who necessarily says it was fixed, but I mean, gosh, it looked fishy to me. I can tell you that. And for 4 years, he has not been running this country, and people know that. So the Democratic Party should have had a regular primary season, just like everybody else. Joe Biden, back in November, should have done the gentlemanly thing and says, I'm not going to seek re-election. And I wouldn't accept your nomination, do a kind of Lyndon Johnson kind of thing, and simply bowed out and and the Democrats could say, look, you did what you needed to do. You kept Trump out of office. And then let somebody else take his place. They're in huge trouble because the Democratic Party talked Joe Biden into picking a complete moron to be his VP.
Yeah.
Okay. God bless her in my prayers, but she's just not an intelligent person. And you saw the Babylon Bee a few years ago do a very wonderful spoof on a 6-year-old who writes a speech for him. I mean, it was spot on. And the sad thing is that besides the 6-year-old himself, there wasn't a whole lot of spoofing done. It wasn't a whole lot of parody. I mean, and they've known this. I mean, they knew this about Biden. I think, though, that the problem with the Democratic Party has been that who do you put up against Trump? I think we went out for a second.
Yeah, we
you
did. I think you need to get closer to your modem or whatever you're coming off of.
All right. So the question is, who do you put up against Trump?
Yeah.
And they haven't been able to come up with anybody. Gavin Newsom has ruined your state, and he's really the best they got. I still believe that there are conversations going on Michelle Obama. I know that people would think I'm crazy for saying that. I'm going to stick by that until we just,
I think that's completely reasonable. Yeah, I think that it's not reasonable that she runs. I think it's reasonable what you're saying, that they would be looking towards her. Sure.
Don Trump Jr. did ask a question: who's running the country? Is it Obama? And a lot of people went yes in the convention. I think a lot of people believe that Barack Obama is technically our current president, and I would not be surprised whatsoever if that were true. He is certainly somebody that is being consulted over and over again. There's no doubt about that. So I think that it is just obvious, and obvious that is whatever's going on is he's not our president.
Yeah, I think that's
so.
Clear.
And so before we get on Trump, I don't know what they're going to do. But basically, it's going to be old school. A lot of people don't remember that the old system, basically, you didn't know who the nominee was until the convention.
Right.
I think that the last convention where we had that was the 76 convention. And the Republican National Convention, it was Ronald Reagan versus Gerald Ford, and Reagan lost.
Right.
A lot of people don't remember that Reagan ran for president in 76. And it was funny because Gerald Ford called Reagan up for an extemporaneous speech at the RNC And Reagan gave this speech just from the hip and blew people's minds. And a lot of people said, we picked the wrong guy. I personally think that it was a good thing that Reagan lost that election because in 76, people were out for blood against the Republican Party because of Watergate.
Mhm.
Whoever the Republicans were going to put up, that was going to be basically Nixon. It was going to be a referendum on Nixon. And so Ford, who had never been elected to begin with, he was just going to lose. There's just no doubt about it. And so Carter, wins, and it was a lackluster presidency to say the least. And then Reagan comes in the 80s, and he's to this day one of my favorite presidents.
Yeah.
But back in the day, that's how they did it. And they're probably going to have to do that for this DNC. They're going to have a runoff where whoever's running for president, starting say Monday or whatever, they're going to try to get the nomination and have the votes tallied at the DNC in late April and in late August, rather. Do I know that that's going to happen? No, but I mean, we live in the weirdest political climate right now than we've lived in a long time.
That's true.
So I don't think anybody can predict the future, but I would not be surprised if after this weekend is over, Biden is going to be no more. He will simply serve out his term as president. The catch-22 there, though, is that if the stated reason is that he's getting out of the race because of his health, then the question will be raised is why should he finish out his term?
Yeah. Well,
So
there's a lot.
the Congress might go 25th Amendment on him.
There's a lot of pride there. Everybody's telling him to quit, and he doesn't want to. And maybe by the time this airs, he will have quit. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if I was a betting man and I had to bet one way or another. I'd say he's going to quit. I think the pressure is gaining. It's just becoming a snowball that's picking up more and more snow, and it's going to run him over. I think he's going to quit, and so I think it's going to be an election between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
So
what did you think of the speech? I've been talking a lot.
Okay, so I watched it all, but about the last 20 minutes. I watched it today, which was the day after. I felt like I think the American people are looking for the party that tells the best story. I think politics are always about the best story. It's almost never about the nuts and bolts of the individual issues. And I think, as critical as I've been of Donald Trump, I thought he told a really compelling story. Although I think it's really two speeches. I think the first half of the speech was a kinder, gentler Donald Trump. Some person with some humility and some introspection and some reflection, and talking about God and talking about his own personal reactions to what happened. And I was like, wow, this is a guy I haven't seen before. I really liked it. And the speech could have ended at 45 minutes. And I think he's already a shoo-in for the presidency, but I think he kind of slid back into his old way of self-aggrandizement and just rumbling on and on and on that he does. And I think one thing you got to realize about Donald Trump, I don't think he intends to say things that aren't true. I think what he's doing is he's trying to set the mood. He's trying to set a tone. He's trying to tell a story. He's trying to say, this is where I want to go. And if you really look at him, he's not a very articulate guy. The number of different words that he has at his command is not great. And he's trying his best to tell a story using a limited vocabulary and sort of limited vision on this stuff. And he does the best he can. And so he's not trying, he says, for example, he's going to get all the automobile manufacturing jobs back in America. I think that's kind of the way he said it. Well, how do you take that? It can't literally be true. He uses a lot of superlatives. And
Right.
I'm going to, I'm saying this all as someone who is going to vote for him. So I'm not,
Oh, okay.
trying to trash him. I'm just trying to be more honest than the average commentator. I really don't like, I'm not a fan of political speeches, and I guess I'm not a fan of politics because of what it takes to tell
Right.
your story. It's just impossible to be nuanced. And I like you and I are try to be philosophical and theological about it, and I like
Right.
nuance, and you can't do nuance in politics. So,
Right.
I give the first half of the speech an A plus. The second half was kind of typical Donald Trump, and hopefully we'll see more of the first half as we go on.
Right.
What were your
Well,
impressions?
it's funny. He went on for 90 minutes, which is I think he holds like the top 3 records now for convention speeches for a candidate. I mean, he spoke for 90 minutes. That's a long time.
It is.
The opening was phenomenal, where he told the story from his perspective as to what happened, and that he gave props to the individuals that were injured, including the gentleman that died, the fireman. He gave this special dedication, talked about him calling the families. One of the things that I've begun to wonder about this guy is, does he ever sleep? I mean, so many people in the convention came out. I'm a good friend of Donald Trump's, and he and I talk on the phone all the time. And I'm like, how does he have the time? His granddaughter, Kai, got out and gave a speech, and she talked about how he'll call her in the middle of the school day to ask about how she's doing and what her golf game's like and all that. And I'm just like, how in the world do you have the time to do all the things that you do? Does the guy sleep?
Yeah.
I don't know. So there's that. I am amazed at a man his age. I bet I wouldn't be able to keep up with him. I'm like 30, 40 years younger than him. He's in his late 70s, so I'm 30 years younger than him, close to 30 years younger than him. And I bet he's just running circles around me. I don't see how the guy does it. I thought that the opening of the speech was honest. I thought he just told the story from his perspective as it was going. One of the things that I didn't appreciate watching the video is that multiple bullets were whizzing by him. So it's not like, we heard several shots, but I think that there was more going on than what we could hear that was picked up on video, because he said that as long as they were on top of him, at least if I understand his speech correctly, the whole time he was on the ground because they were holding him there, and they were holding him there because multiple bullets were just whizzing by.
Yeah.
And until the assassin the would-be assassin was shot, or he was an assassin because he killed somebody, they didn't let Trump stand up. The other thing I like about his rendition of the story is he didn't use the opportunity to criticize the Secret Service.
That was powerful. Yes.
He praised them, and there are a lot of questions right now as to their performance. I have questions, at least, and who doesn't? And then the final thing that I would say about the opening speech is, it's clear that Trump has changed. His rhetoric near the end of the speech notwithstanding, this is a man who sees himself as very much a beneficiary of divine providence. I don't think that there's any question about that. So that's my first take on the speech.
Yeah. So going back to my previous question, Travis, where do you think? How do we think about divine influence in events such as this?
Well, I mean, it's hard for me to look at the video on that, especially now that I've seen the close-up videos where they've shown the head, and then they've shown like it's a computer-generated headshot over the headshot where he barely turns his head about 15 seconds, 10 seconds before he's hit.
Yeah.
He barely turns, and that goes right through the ear. I mean, it is, you don't appreciate it when you watch the regular video. You appreciate it when you watch that. He would be dead now had he not turned his head. So you either have to believe that everything that happens in this universe is random and meaningless, or you have to say that there was divine providence involved. And I mean, the man is either somebody chosen by God to be where he is at the moment, or he's the Antichrist. I mean, something supernatural is looking after that man.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know how else to read this. That is way too close for call. That's one of the reasons why I just laugh at the people who thinks that Trump himself planned it. That somebody planned it.
Ridiculous.
I'm perfectly open to the idea that somebody planned it, but it ain't Trump. The man did not plan on having a bullet come that close to killing him.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be president that bad.
I think anybody who escapes death like that is going to get the sense that there is divine providence involved. The truth is, there's divine providence involved in everything. Imagine a different scenario, Travis. Imagine that exactly the same situation where this kid decides he wants to shoot Donald Trump. But instead of him getting on the roof and almost shooting and almost killing him, he's killed in a car accident on the way to wanting to do this. Okay.
Sure.
And Donald Trump hears about that. Now, he both ways he would have missed being killed. But there's something way more poignant, and I don't even know what the word is for this almost death, the near death experience that he had, where he said it was a quarter of an inch difference between life and death just after he turned his head. The sense he's going to get, or any person is going to get from that, is going to be way different than hearing that some guy was killed in a car accident on his way to shoot you. That would have still felt very distant. And so I think the fact that he has this sense now, that to me is divine. That's the divine providence. The circumstances gave it to him, but he now has a sense from God that he has a purpose and a destiny. And the reason he has that is because he just barely missed being killed. And I don't know, is there I think I see a distinction there. What do you think of that?
Well, I do agree with that. If the killer had been killed on a highway on the way there, and he had found out about it somehow, that somebody who was seeking his life got killed, it would have still been abstract for him.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Yes,
I think that for us, a lot of us, it's abstract to us because he didn't die. And so unless you watch some of these more close-up videos that go into detail about what happened, it will remain abstract to you. But when you see just how close he came to death, in fact, I don't even think I know that he's been hit by it and touched by it, all that, but I bet he doesn't. He said, I can't really talk to you about this, but I'm going to talk about it once. I feel that because I bet it's going to keep him up for many a night where he contemplates just how close he came to death. I mean, it was. I mean, you don't get closer without actually dying.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was watching a video with my wife. We were watching an interview. Oh, I know. We were watching a Ben Shapiro production, and on my phone, Newsmax sent me an announcement. Trump has been shot, and of course, I immediately stopped the Shapiro video and started looking for it. And we were thankful, of course. And again, I'd be saying this if it were Biden, but we were thankful that Trump was okay. But we were maybe 20 minutes late. So I guarantee you that for the first 20 minutes of this, or the first 10 minutes afterwards, people were in genuine concern over whether he was alive or not, because he got shot in the head. It was the edge of the head, the ear. But there's no doubt about it. So I think his speech, he clearly changed the speech. It was tempered. And I do feel, the really important thing is whether you think it's divine providence or not, what do most people think? And I think most people think it is. There are atheists now going, wait a minute. What? The man has had everything but the quick kitchen sink thrown at him. And I think that we should get foam kitchen sinks and throw them at him at rallies. Because, he's had everything but the kitchen sink thrown at him.
Yeah.
It is amazing what he's been through this past year. And now to get shot. I just think that most people think that. And I think that most people that were sitting on the fence are going to vote for him now. In fact, the couple of times you and I have spoken, you were not committed to a side, and I see a change in you. You said in this program that you were going to vote for Trump. So that tells you the impact that these events have had on voters. So if the Democratic Party planned this, it was one of the dumbest things they've ever done.
Yeah.
Because what the Democratic Party needs to do now is they need to just take the L. They should just roll the dice and let Kamala run. I think Gavin Newsom is their brightest star, and that's unfortunate for them. But they shouldn't send Gavin Newsom there's no way Gavin Newsom's going to win this election. The momentum for Trump is just way too high.
Yeah.
And so I think that what they should do is roll the dice and Kamala, say, do your best. Don't commit too much money to her. Just save your money and just take the L.
Yeah.
That's what I think they should do.
I don't know what else they can do. I agree with you, because they don't have anybody else they can run on this short notice. And I think Gavin,
it's the Super Bowl. It's 50-0. It's 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
Can you score that many? Can you make up that many points? Yeah, I guess you can. I'm not saying that it's going to be a landslide in the sense that nobody's going to vote for a Democrat. There's some people that are just never going to vote for Trump, no matter what.
Sure.
So yeah, it's possible that he'll lose, but what has to happen? I think if he gets thrown in jail, for example, and the New York court case is going to be thrown out through an appeal. All the other big ones have, with the Atlanta one fell to pieces. The one in Florida that they, we all heard the news Monday. He talked about in the speech. That's out the window. So what do they have now?
Yeah.
Lawfare is over. January 6th has not landed as some argument against him. I'm just acting as a commentator right now. He's gonna win this. I just can't imagine what you can throw at him. The Clintons had that October surprise where he dropped the P word in the last election, and I think more people voted for him because of that. He just can't. He's just one of those guys that no matter what he does, it just doesn't matter. This is one of the reasons I think it's stupid. There's a gazillion reasons why it's stupid to think that he planned this. And one of them is, look at all the things that he said in the past that has alienated people, and he still won.
Yeah.
So what does it matter? There's no way he would plan this to beef up his stats or something. Are you kidding me? That's stupid.
It's ridiculous. What's your evidence? That's always the question. What's your evidence? You can think anything you want. What's your evidence? Yeah. And I think talking about Newsom, I think living in the state that he is the governor of, his politics are so extreme, even for the Democrats. I don't think his stuff can fly in a national election. I think he's limited to this crazy state.
Yeah. Absolutely, my friend. Well,
all right. Well, it's
This is-
interesting
this-
times,
yeah.
Travis. That Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times. We sure do, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays out. And I hope all glory goes to God. I hope Trump keeps up some humility, and it was a really good speech. It was a good start for him.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Look, and to our audience, hopefully we'll be back on Chart in a week or two and start talking about what we like to talk about, which is theology. But we'll have to every now and give our commentary on current events, especially the election. But
That's right.
in the meantime, God bless all of you and stay in peace and stay safe and peace out.
Yeah. Good to see you, Travis.
You too, man. Bye.